The first light of dawn creeps slowly across the vast Mongolian steppe. At first, the horizon glows only with a faint silver line, but soon the sky begins to bleed with colors, pale orange, then a deep pink, and finally the blazing gold of a rising sun. The grasslands stretch endlessly in all directions, broken only by the faint outline of distant hills. The night has been bitterly cold, and even now, as the light spreads, the air carries a sharp bite that seeps through clothing and skin. For the men who live here, this is nothing unusual. The steppe is both their home and their test of strength. Inside a felt-covered yurt, a young warrior stirs from his sleep. His name is Batu, one of thousands sworn to the banners of the great Khan. He is not a general, not a nobleman, but an ordinary soldier, the kind of man whose discipline and endurance made the Mongol horde the most feared army in the world. The yurt smells of smoke, wool, and men. A small iron stove glows faintly in the corner, its embers slowly dying, leaving behind the trace of warmth. Around Batu, other warriors begin to move. Some groan as they stretch sore muscles after a night on the hard ground. Others rise immediately, practiced in the rhythm of campaign life, where hesitation can mean punishment. The Mongol army lives by strict rules set down by the yasa, the law of the Khan, and every man knows that order is the key to survival. Batu sits up and pulls on his deal, the thick robe of the steppe nomad, lined with fur and tied with leather belt. Its wide sleeves and heavy folds keep out the wind, but allow him freedom of movement when riding or shooting a bow. He slips his feet into high leather boots, hardened from years of use, tough enough to endure mud, snow, and dust alike. Every item of clothing he owns must serve a purpose: warmth, protection, or endurance. Ornament or decoration is for nobles. For a common warrior, practicality is survival. Before he leaves the yurt, Batu checks his weapons. His bow, carved from layers of wood, horn, and sinew, lies wrapped carefully against moisture. It is small compared to the longbows of other lands, but its power is unmatched. Even from horseback, a skilled Mongol can send an arrow piercing through armor. Beside it rests his quiver, filled with arrows fletched with eagle feathers, each crafted for distance, speed, or armor piercing. His curved saber, sharp and ready, hangs by the wall. He touches each weapon, not only to ensure it is intact, but as a silent ritual, a reminder that his life depends on these tools. Outside, the camp is waking. The sounds of horses fill the air, snorting, stamping, neighing. These animals are more than transport. They are partners, comrades in every battle. Each warrior owns several, swapping them during long rides to maintain endurance. Batu's main horse, a bay stallion, stands tied near the entrance. Its breath steams in the cold air as it tosses its mane, impatient for the day. The smells of the morning drift across the camp: smoke from fires, the sharp tang of leather, the sour sweet scent of fermented mare's milk. Women move among the warriors preparing food. Dried meat, hard cheese, and kumis make up the simple meal. Batu eats quickly, chewing the tough, salty meat until it softens in his mouth. He drinks kumis in slow gulps. The taste is sour, almost burning, but it fills him with warmth and strength. He does not eat for pleasure, but for endurance, knowing the day will demand every drop of energy. After breakfast, Batu walks to his horse. He checks the saddle straps, tightens the stirrups, and runs his hand down the animal's strong neck. The bond between rider and horse is sacred. A Mongol without his horse is nothing. Together they are one, able to cover more distance in a day than most armies could in a week. He whispers softly to the stallion, words of comfort and command, for he knows that the horse listens and remembers. Suddenly, a deep horn echoes across the camp. Its sound is low, resonant, and commanding. The chatter of men falls silent as warriors begin to gather near the banners, tall poles topped with horsehair standards fluttering in the sharp morning wind. These standards are symbols of unity, reminders that each warrior is part of something greater than himself. Batu slings his bow across his back, adjusts his belt, and takes one last look at the horizon. The world stretches vast and endless, with no walls, no borders, no cities, only sky, grass, and destiny. Somewhere out there, enemies wait, and glory calls. For Batu and his brothers, this is not just another morning. It is the beginning of another march, another test, another chance to prove themselves worthy of the Khan. The day of a Mongol warrior has begun.
The camp stirs with rising urgency as the echo of the horn fades into the open air. Warriors emerge from their yurts in greater numbers, fastening belts, adjusting armor, and leading horses from their tethers. The Mongol army does not waste time. The moment the signal sounds, every man knows his duty. Batu joins his comrades, falling into step with the men of his Arban, a unit of 10 warriors. Each Arban is part of a larger Jahun, 100, which in turn belongs to a Mingan, 1,000, and so on until the Tumen, the full 10,000. This structure, simple yet strict, is the skeleton of Mongol military power. Every man knows his place, and every commander knows his men. As they gather near their banner, Batu glances at his companions. They are men of the steppe like him, weathered faces, lean bodies hardened by wind and war. Some are older, veterans with scars that tell of past battles. Others are younger, eager and restless, their hands never far from bow or blade. They speak little, for words are unnecessary. They have trained together, fought together, and they know each other's strengths and weaknesses as well as their own. The morning air is filled with the sounds of preparation, the clink of metal as sabers are fastened, the creak of leather saddles being secured, the snorts and whinnies of horses stamping impatiently. Smoke curls upward from dying fires, carried away by the shop wind. A faint chant rises from a nearby group of men, offering prayers to Tengri, the eternal blue sky, whom the Mongols believe watches over all battles. Batu feels the weight of the moment. Discipline is absolute here. The yasa, the law of the Khan, is strict. Disobedience can mean death, not only for the man, but for his entire unit. If one warrior flees, his brothers may be executed with him. This harsh rule ensures loyalty and unity. No man dares put his own life above the lives of his comrades. It is this order, Batu knows, that gives the Mongols their terrifying strength. Soon their leader arrives, a 100-man commander, a man of iron bearing and fierce eyes. He rides at the head of his horse, the animal prancing with controlled energy. The men straighten instinctively as he approaches, their gazes fixed forward. The commander raises his voice, carried by the wind yet clear as a blade's edge. Brothers of the steppe, today we ride not for ourselves, but for the Khan and for the eternal sky that watches us all. Our enemies believe they can hide behind walls, behind rivers, behind fear. But the horsemen of the steppe know no barriers. The strength of our bows, the speed of our horses, the will of our hearts, these will carry us to victory. A shout rises from the men, a single voice multiplied by hundreds. Batu feels it in his chest, like thunder rolling across the plains. The commander continues, reminding them of discipline, of silence when ordered, of the punishments for disobedience. He speaks not only to inspire, but to warn. For in the Mongol army, courage is nothing without obedience. When the speech ends, orders are given quickly and precisely. Scouts ride ahead, light and swift, their task to find the safest paths, to locate water, and to watch for enemies. Supply wagons are drawn into line, creaking under the weight of dried meat, weapons, and spare bowstrings. Warriors mount their horses, their bodies moving with practiced ease. In moments, the camp transforms from a collection of tents into a moving force, ready to stretch across the horizon like a living river. Batu mounts his bay stallion, feeling the familiar strength beneath him. He adjusts the saddle, tests the tension of his bowstring, and runs his thumb over the edge of his saber. Around him, the men of his arban do the same. There is little conversation, only the steady rhythm of preparation. As the sun rises higher, the banners are lifted. They flutter proudly in the wind, their black horsehair streaming like smoke. This sight fills Batu with a strange mixture of pride and fear. To ride beneath the banners is honor, but it also means responsibility. Every man here carries not only his own life, but the weight of his ancestors and the will of the Khan. The signal horn sounds again, a long, low call that vibrates through the air. One by one, the units begin to move, falling into their formations. 10 by 10, 100 by 100, the horde takes shape, an ocean of men and horses rolling forward with unstoppable momentum. Batu grips the reins tightly as his horse steps into line. Ahead of him, the steppe stretches wide and endless, a canvas on which the Mongols will write their destiny. He feels the thrill of the coming march, the long days of riding, the uncertainty of battle, the possibility of glory or death. For a warrior like him, there is no other life. The army is ready. The campaign begins.
The army moves like a tide, flowing steadily across the endless grasslands. From a distance, it looks like a black river, horses and riders stretching so far that the front disappears beyond the horizon. The morning sun glints off sabers and helmets, while banners flutter high, marking the units like stars in the sky. Batu rides with his arban, 10 men who know one another as brothers. Their horses' hooves beat a steady rhythm against the earth, raising clouds of dust that drift in the cold wind. The steppe stretches wide and unbroken, a sea of grass that ripples under the touch of the breeze. For those born here, this vastness is not empty, but alive. Every hill, every cluster of trees, every river crossing hides meaning, a landmark, a memory, a possible threat. The pace is relentless. The Mongol army is known for its speed, and today is no exception. The men ride hard, switching horses when one begins to tire. Batu owns 4 mounts, as most warriors do, and he rotates them carefully, keeping each strong enough to endure the long march. A tired horse can mean death, and no Mongol forgets this. Water is scarce in places, so the scouts ride ahead, searching for streams and wells. When they find one, the army halts briefly. Warriors dismount, leading their animals to drink and filling leather skins with water. Some men splash the cold liquid onto their faces, washing away dust and sweat. Batu drinks deeply, the chill water burning his throat before pouring a handful into his horse's mouth. The stallion shakes its head, droplets scattering in the air, before snorting with satisfaction. Food is simple and quick. The men carry dried meat and curds, chewing them in silence as they ride. At times, Batu drinks from a leather flask filled with kumis, the sour taste reminding him of home. The army wastes no hours with long meals or rest. Every moment is part of the march. If hunger grows too sharp, a warrior may cut a vein in his horse's neck, drinking the warm blood to keep his strength. The horse survives, the rider endures, and the march continues. As the sun climbs higher, the land begins to change. Hills rise gently, and the grass grows shorter, scattered with patches of stone. The wind whistles through the open air, carrying with it the cries of hawks circling above. Batu narrows his eyes at the distance. Somewhere beyond those hills may lie their enemy, hidden behind walls or forests. The thought quickens his pulse, though his face shows nothing. Along the column, Orders pass silently through signals, flags raised and lowered, horsemen galloping from unit to unit, messengers delivering instructions. The Mongols rarely shout commands in the open. Silence keeps them hidden and disciplined. Batu's Arban shifts smoothly, adjusting their formation to match the larger flow of men. Every rider knows his place, and no one breaks rank. By midday, the scouts return with news. A small caravan of traders has been spotted, moving slowly across the steppe. The commander orders an interception. Batu feels a thrill of anticipation. Not a great battle, but a taste of action. The warriors spur their horses, moving like shadows across the grass. The traders never stand a chance. They are caught swiftly, surrounded by 100 riders before they can even scatter. Batu watches as his comrades seize supplies, grain, fabric, and tools. Some captives are taken for questioning, while others are released, left trembling in fear. To the Mongols, such encounters are routine. The army feeds not only on its own supplies, but on whatever it can seize along the way. When the raid ends, the march resumes as if nothing had happened. The sun begins to sink toward the west, painting the steppe in golden light. Dust clings to Batu's face, and his legs ache from hours in the saddle. Yet he does not complain. A Mongol warrior is trained to endure without weakness. Complaints are for children, not soldiers of the Khan. As evening approaches, the horn sounds again. The army slows, then halts. Warriors dismount, leading their animals to graze on the tall grass. Fires are lit, and smoke rises into the darkening sky. The camp takes shape with swift efficiency. Yurts for the officers, makeshift tents for others, wagons drawn into protective circles. Batu sits with his comrades near the fire. They eat dried meat softened in boiling water, share cups of kumis, and talk in low voices. Some laugh, some boast, others sit silently, lost in thought. The day has been long, but tomorrow will be longer still. Above them, the stars begin to pierce the twilight, bright and countless in the clear steppe sky. Batu lies back on the ground, staring upward. The vastness of the heavens mirrors the vastness of the land, and for a moment he feels both small and eternal. Tomorrow, the march will continue. Tomorrow, perhaps, they will meet their true enemy. But tonight, the steppe is quiet, and the warriors rest.
The dawn after a night in camp begins not with rest, but with discipline. For the Mongols, training is as natural as breathing, and even on campaign, there is no pause in the rhythm of practice. Batu wakes at the sound of a horn and rises quickly, for hesitation is dangerous. The yasa, the law of the great Khan, leaves no room for idleness. Around him, the camp stirs again into ordered motion. Horses are saddled, weapons checked, and within moments, the warriors of his Arban are mounted. They ride not toward battle this morning, but toward an open stretch of steppe, chosen for their daily drills. The wind whips across the grass, carrying the cries of birds overhead. The men spread out, each unit forming a line. At a signal, they begin their training, first with the bow. Batu feels the familiar weight of his composite bow in his hands. Its horn and wood limbs curve sharply, storing a power far greater than its size suggests. He nocks an arrow and spurs his horse into motion. The stallion gallops across the field, hooves pounding the earth. Batu rises slightly in the saddle, drawing the bowstring to his cheek. His fingers release, and the arrow whistles through the air, striking the distant target with a dull thud. Even while moving at full speed, the shot is precise. This is the essence of Mongol warfare, the ability to strike while riding, to kill without ever slowing down. The men repeat the drill again and again. Some shoot forward, others backward, twisting their bodies in the saddle with astonishing balance.
Batu looses arrows to the left and right, each time shifting his weight smoothly to guide his horse. Sweat runs down his back despite the cold air, his muscles burning with effort, yet there is pride in the rhythm. He knows he is part of the deadliest cavalry in the world. When the horn sounds again, the drills change. Now they practice maneuvers, formations that turn chaos into control. At the command, units of 10 split and circle, rejoining seamlessly like streams converging into a river. Signals from flags and drums carry the language of war across miles. One tactic is rehearsed more than any other, the feigned retreat. Batu and his comrades charge forward, loosing arrows as they ride. Then, at a signal, they wheel their horses around and flee as if broken. Their pursuers would chase, believing victory close at hand. But the Mongols never flee in panic. At the next signal, the riders turn in unison, loosing volleys into their unprepared enemies before encircling them in a deadly trap. The training is merciless. A man who fails to keep formation is punished harshly. Batu remembers when one of his comrades ignored a signal, nearly causing confusion in the ranks. The punishment was swift, lashes before the unit, a warning to all that mistakes in training could mean death in battle. The Yasa does not forgive carelessness. Discipline binds the horde together more tightly than chains. After maneuvers come tests of endurance. The men ride for hours without pause, changing horses at full gallop, vaulting from one to another as easily as stepping across a stream. They shoot at moving targets, strike with sabers against dummies of straw, and wrestle one another in the dust. Strength, balance, precision, all must be mastered, for a warrior may be called to fight at any moment. By midday, the men are drenched in sweat, their voices hoarse from shouting, their arms aching from endless draws of the bow. Yet no one complains. Endurance is their pride. Batu's body aches, but within the ache is a fire, the knowledge that he grows sharper, faster, deadlier. As the training ends, the commander rides before them once more. His gaze is stern, but his voice carries approval. You are the claws of the Khan, and claws must always be sharp. Remember this. Our enemies believe themselves safe behind walls and rivers, but walls crumble, rivers freeze, and fear shatters before the discipline of the horde. The men bow their heads in silence, the words sinking deep. Batu feels the truth of them. Their strength is not only in their bows or horses, but in the order that binds them all as one. Alone, he is only Batu, a man with a bow. Together, under the Khan, they are a storm no enemy can withstand. As the sun begins to set, the men return to camp. The smoke of cooking fires rises once again, and the smell of meat drifts on the air. Batu unsaddles his horse, brushing its coat, murmuring words of thanks. The day has been hard, but he feels stronger for it. Tomorrow may bring battle, and he knows now he is ready.
The sun sinks low over the western horizon, staining the steppe with colors of fire and blood. The endless grasslands glow in shades of red and gold, and shadows stretch long and dark across the earth. For the Mongol army, this is the signal to rest. The day's march has ended, and the camp comes alive with its own rhythm, quieter than the thunder of hooves, but filled with energy nonetheless. Batu dismounts from his horse, his legs stiff from hours in the saddle. He pats the animal's neck before leading it to graze. The horses, loyal and patient, lower their heads to the grass, pulling at it with steady bites. For them too, the day has been long, but they will endure. Batu rubs the stallion's back with a cloth, wiping away sweat and dust before fastening a rope loosely around its neck. He whispers softly, promising fresh grass tomorrow. Around him,
Warriors move with practiced ease, setting up camp. Wagons are drawn into tight circles, forming makeshift walls against the wind. Small tents rise quickly, their frames lashed together with rope. Fires spark to life as men strike steel against flint, and soon the scent of smoke drifts over the field. The army, so fluid and restless during the march, transforms into a village in less than an hour. Food is prepared. Warriors boil meat in large iron pots, tossing in dried herbs and roots gathered along the way. Some soften tied curds in water, turning them into a broth. Others simply chew on strips of dried mutton, too hungry to wait for the stew. Batu eats with his arban, crouched close to the fire. They pass bowls between them, sharing not only food but silence, for hunger dulls conversation. The meat is tough, the broth thin, yet to a warrior of the steppe, it is enough. After the first pangs of hunger are eased, the mood shifts. Voices rise and laughter breaks the silence. Men share stories of hunts, of old battles, of narrow escapes. One warrior boasts of a raid where he struck down 3 enemies with a single charge. Another counters with a tale of surviving a frozen river crossing with only a bow above the ice. Batu listens, smiling faintly, though he speaks little. He prefers to watch the fire and let the warmth seep into his bones. Music soon fills the camp. A man pulls out a morin hor, the horsehead fiddle, its haunting notes rising into the night. The sound is low, almost mournful, yet powerful, a reminder of the steppe itself, vast and eternal. Others join with their voices, singing old songs of ancestors and heroes. The words speak of riders who crossed mountains, of warriors who never returned, of mothers who prayed beneath the stars. Batu hums softly under his breath, the melody stirring something deep inside him. Not all gatherings are lighthearted. In one corner of the camp, a shaman prepares a ritual. His garments are adorned with feathers and strips of fur, his face painted with ash. A small group of warriors kneel before him as he chants to Tengri, the eternal blue sky, and to the spirits of the ancestors. He shakes a drum, its rhythm echoing like a heartbeat, calling unseen forces to bless the army. Batu watches from a distance. He is not deeply religious, but he respects the rituals. Every warrior knows that the spirits of the steppe are real, and that the Khan himself claims his power by the will of the sky. If the shaman says the omens are good, the men will ride into battle with fire in their hearts. If the omens are dark, even the bravest will feel unease. Later, as the fires burn lower, the camp grows quieter. Some men wrestle playfully, testing strength and laughing when they fall into the dust. Others gamble with dice carved from bone, shouting at their luck. A few sit alone, sharpening blades or repairing arrow fletchings by the light of the flames. Batu uses a small stone to hone the edge of his sabre, listening to the faint scrape of metal. Each stroke is a promise. Tomorrow, this blade may drink blood. When the tasks are done, the men settle into sleep. Some curl near the fires, wrapped in furs. Others crawl into tents or lean against saddles. The night air is cold, sharper than during the day, and frost begins to creep along the edges of the grass. Batu lies on his cloak, staring at the sky above. The heavens are vast, filled with stars brighter than torches, scattered across the black dome like silver dust. He imagines the spirits of the ancestors among them, watching over the riders below. The wind hums softly across the steppe, carrying with it the smell of smoke, leather, and horses. Batu closes his eyes, his body heavy with exhaustion. Tomorrow, the horn will sound again. Tomorrow, the march will continue. Perhaps tomorrow, they will face their true enemy. But tonight, the steppe is peaceful, and for a brief moment, the warrior finds rest.
The horn sounds before dawn. Its deep, commanding note cuts through the cold morning air, startling horses and stirring warriors from sleep. Batu wakes instantly, his body aching but his mind sharp. Today will not be a day of marching or singing. Today will be a day of blood. The camp comes alive with purpose. Fires are smothered, tents pulled down, wagons loaded in silence. Each man knows his place, each squad moving like parts of a single body. Batu straps on his leather armor, tightening the iron plates that protect his chest. Over it he pulls his deal, then fastens his quiver at his side. He runs his thumb along the edge of his saber, sharp, clean, ready. His bow, polished with oil the night before, gleams in the pale light. Horses are brought forward, restless and snorting, sensing the tension. Batu mounts his stallion, feeling the familiar weight beneath him. The cold air stings his face, but his heart pounds hot in his chest. Around him, hundreds of riders form lines, banners rising high, long poles topped with horsehair standards snapping in the wind. At the head of the host, the Noyan, a commander trusted by the Khan, raises his arm. His voice carries over the plain. Brothers, today Tangri watches. Today we ride not for ourselves, but for the Khan, for our ancestors, for the steppe itself. The warriors shout in reply, their cries rising like thunder. Batu joins them, his voice raw, his blood surging. The enemy waits ahead, an army of farmers turned soldiers, their camp fortified with wooden carts and crude palisades. They outnumber the Mongols, but numbers mean little against skill and discipline. Batu knows the plan well, drilled into his mind by endless training. Strike fast, strike hard, never give the enemy a chance to breathe. The first wave begins with arrows. Batu draws his bow, the sinew string taut against his cheek. He exhales, releases. The arrow whistles through the air, vanishing into the distant mass of men. Around him, thousands of others do the same. A black storm of arrows rains down, finding flesh, piercing armor, spreading terror. The enemy lines waver, shields raised too late. Then comes the charge. The horns blare, and the earth shakes with the thunder of hooves. Batu leans forward, gripping the reins, his stallion surging beneath him. The cold air stings his face, but his heart pounds hot in his chest. Around him, hundreds of riders form lines, banners rising high, long poles topped with horsehair standards snapping in the wind. Impact. The Mongols crash into the enemy lines, sabers flashing, spears breaking, men screaming. Batu swings his blade in a wide arc, cutting into a soldier's neck. Blood sprays hot against the cold air, and the man collapses. Another lunges with a spear, but Batu twists in the saddle, his saber slicing through wood and flesh alike. His horse tramples the fallen, its hooves striking with brutal force. The battlefield becomes chaos. Dust and smoke rise, mixing with the screams of men and the cries of horses. Arrows still fly, whistling past Batu's ears, some finding their mark in friend and foe alike. Warriors clash in tight knots, blades clanging, shields splintering. Batu fights without thought, his body moving on instinct, every strike born of training and survival. He sees comrades fall, one pierced through the chest, another dragged from his horse. He cannot stop for them. To pause is to die. His stallion stumbles for a moment, jolting his balance, but Batu steadies it with a sharp pull of the reins, whispering encouragement even as his sword rises again. The Mongol tactics unfold with ruthless precision. Units feign retreat, drawing enemies out from their defenses, then wheel around in sudden ambushes. Others cut off escape routes, encircling the foe. Batu's Arban pushes deep into the enemy camp, tearing down barriers, setting wagons ablaze. Fire spreads quickly, smoke choking the air. Panic grips the enemy as discipline shatters. Hours blur together in the madness of combat. Batu's arms ache, his throat is raw from shouting, his vision narrowed to blade, bow, and blood. Yet slowly the tide turns. The enemy breaks, their courage spent, their lines collapsing. Some flee, pursued mercilessly by mounted archers who cut them down from behind. Others throw down their weapons only to be cut apart where they stand. At last, the horn sounds again, the signal to regroup. The Mongols pull back in perfect order, even amid victory. Batu reins in his horse, chest heaving, his armor spattered with blood not all his own. Around him, the ground is littered with bodies, the air thick with the stench of death and smoke. He feels no joy, only exhaustion. Victory is expected, survival is the true reward. He wipes his blade clean on a fallen enemy's cloak before sliding it back into its scabbard. His horse trembles beneath him, foam at its mouth, but it still stands. Batu strokes its mane, whispering thanks. As the sun sets on the battlefield, the Mongol banners rise high over the carnage. The Khan's will has been done. Batu knows this is only one battle among many, but for today, the warriors of the steppe have triumphed.
The battlefield lies silent. Where hours before thunder and screams filled the air, now only the moans of the dying and the cawing of distant crows remain. Smoke drifts low across the plain, carrying the bitter stench of burned wood and blood. Horses wander nervously among the corpses, their reins dragging in the dust. Batu sits slumped in the saddle, his body heavy, his face streaked with grime. His ears still ring with the echoes of horns and battle cries. For a moment, he feels as though the earth itself is still trembling beneath him. Slowly, he dismounts, boots sinking into blood-soaked soil. Around him, his brothers in arms gather, their faces pale, their armor dented and stained. The Noyon rides past, his horse splattered but uninjured, his voice calm as he calls for order. Count the living, gather the fallen, tend the wounded. The words are simple, but in them lies the discipline that has carried the Mongols to victory again and again. The army obeys without hesitation. Batu joins his Arban, searching for familiar faces. Relief washes over him as he sees most still alive, though two are missing. He finds one lying among the dead, eyes staring blankly at the sky. He kneels, pressing the lids closed with his fingers, whispering a prayer to Tengri. There is no time for grief, only respect, swift and quiet. The body is carried away to join others. By dusk, the Mongols will burn their fallen, sending smoke up to the eternal blue sky. The wounded groan as they are tended by companions. Cuts are bound with strips of cloth, arrowheads pulled from flesh with knives. There is no softness, only necessity. To live, a man must endure pain. Batu himself bears shallow wounds on his arm and shoulder, but he ignores them. Pain is a reminder that he still breathes while others do not. Looting begins, swift and methodical. Weapons are gathered, wagons searched, supplies claimed. Horses are taken, the most precious of prizes. What cannot be carried is burned. The enemy's homes and fields will not shelter them again. For the Mongols, victory is not just the defeat of an army, but the breaking of a people's will. As the sun dips low, the warriors eat once more. The meal is hot and filling, but it tastes of iron and ash. Batu chews slowly, his mind elsewhere. Around him, some men laugh, boasting of their kills. Others sit in silence, staring into nothing. Triumph and sorrow mix together, as inseparable as sky and steppe. Later, a shaman performs a ritual over the battlefield. He beats his drum, the hollow thud carrying into the night. He chants to the ancestors, asking them to guide the souls of the fallen and to strengthen the living. Warriors gather in a circle, heads bowed,
voices humming softly with the rhythm. Batu feels the weight of the moment, not just his own survival, but his place in something far greater. The steppe does not forget. The ancestors do not forget. When the ritual ends, the camp quiets. The fires burn low, casting long shadows. Batu sits alone, sharpening his saber. The blade gleams faintly, its edge unbroken despite the day's slaughter. He runs a cloth along it, his mind replaying each strike, each face, each sound of steel cutting flesh. Victory is theirs, yet peace feels distant. He gazes at the sky, where countless stars glitter above the dark horizon. They remind him of the Khan's vision that the Mongol Empire should stretch as far as the stars themselves, from one end of the world to the other. Batu wonders how many more battles it will take, how many more lives will be spent to feed that vision. A thought rises unbidden. Will his name be remembered? Will his deeds echo in songs, or will he vanish into the dust of the steppe, forgotten even by his own blood? He shakes the doubt away. A warrior does not question destiny. His duty is to ride, to fight, to obey. Memory belongs to the eternal blue sky, not to men. Finally, exhausted, he lies back on his cloak. His horse grazes nearby, its dark shape steady against the firelight. Batu closes his eyes, letting the sounds of the steppe wash over him. The crackle of flames, the distant whinny of horses, and the soft murmur of his comrades. Tomorrow they will ride again, and the cycle will continue. March, battle, victory, loss.